Food is love, and when the love kills, there's a problem. And that's what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about food allergies and how the people are showing up to your establishments, restaurants, daycare centers, schools, with food allergies. So they're kind of coming in already 2 strokes behind, and they need to eat, they want to feel included, and they're coming up with some challenges already. So that's what we're going to talk about. I did put some worksheets out on everybody's area there. If you want to go ahead, I'll let you know when we get to the place for you to take notes. But 1 or 2 housekeeping notes before I jump in, and that is if you want slides, I'm always happy to share slides. I just need you to send me an email. My email's at the bottom of that sheet. The other thing is a lot of times people are intimidated or not wanting to ask questions publicly. That's another opportunity for you to do that. Just use my email or call me on the phone. I do answer the phone if I'm in town. We are based in Colorado, so I'm a little out of town at the moment, but we'll get back to you. I'll get back to you, or one of the gals will get back to you to help. So, Menu Trinfo is the name of the company. We're a proud partner of those people you see up there. I think the most important one for today's talk is FAIR, which is in the bottom right area of the slide. FAIR stands for Food Allergy Research and Education. It's foodallergy.org if you're looking for them online. They have a lot of great tools for food allergy. I will refer to them again. Their link is actually on your worksheet for a poster that you can download and print in your location. So food allergy, FAIR, food allergy and research. Menu Trinfo, what does Menu Trinfo need? Well, there's a couple logos missing, obviously. Sorry for the big old white space. But we do nutrition information, allergy, gluten-free training, and most recently, accreditations for kitchens and products that are free from some of the big 8. As you see, the Trivial Pursuit looking piece there. Some of the brands we work with, on the left side of the screen, you're going to see the brands we work with for nutrition information, and on the right side of the screen, you're going to see the people that we work with for food allergens. And that's not all the people, it's just the ones I hope you'll recognize. When you're going to a show, you want to share some of your best. A couple of our big guys we can't share publicly, so those are the ones I am allowed to share and can share with you today. This is a disclaimer. I'm not going to read it to you. I will tell you that if you ask for the slides, the disclaimer will be in it. Sorry, I know I'm really hard on it. I know. This poor guy's trying to take my picture, and I'm all over the place. I do not hold still. Okay, so let's jump back 1 sec and talk for a minute on menu labeling. So, oops. Hang on 1 second. I'm having a slide malfunction. You're getting all the slides at once, folks. Don't think you want that. Okay. Here we go. Now, we are in Texas, and Texas doesn't have legislation on menu labeling yet. But it's coming, and it's coming behind the federal mandate of menu labeling. We thought it was coming on May 1st of 2016 or 17. Okay, here's the problem. They've had 3 dates, and we now have a 4th date. So the first date for national menu labeling was back in 2014. They pushed it to 2015. 2015 pushed it to Cinco de Mayo of this year. This year, 2 days before it was enacted, they pushed it to next year, May 7th of 2018. Menu labeling stands for all restaurants of 20 or more locations must have nutrition information on the menu. And I'll get into the details on that, but I will tell you that it did just get pushed out one more time. Is menu labeling good for business? And this session was originally covering menu labeling and allergens, and when it got pushed back, we decided to focus mainly on allergens, but I did put a little bit in there on menu labeling in case anybody had that for top of mind. So one of the benefits to menu labeling is that if you have multiple locations, multiple brands, multiple child care centers, multiple schools in different zip codes, menu labeling helps you be consistent on the product from one location to the next, because you're going to have to mandate product brands and who you're using so that your numbers stay the same. Because once you do your nutrition numbers, you can't keep tweaking brands because each brand of cheese, say, has different nutritional values. So that's one of the reasons vendors love it, broadline distributors love it, because they nail you in with a certain brand. And you should love it because it's going to keep you consistent from zip code to zip code. Again, with the recipe costing and paying attention to manufacturers, ingredients, when you're buying in bulk for 20 or more locations, you can get a better price, I understand. But with menu labeling, you also have to have the same ingredients store to store to store, place to place to place, to keep the consistency. I always like to compare it to the nutritional value of, say, pizza. Okay, who doesn't love pizza? Like, I don't think we're going to pizza to eat lightweight, you know what I'm saying? We're going to pizza to have an indulgence. Well, with menu labeling, because the specs are so tight in mandating how many ounces of, say, cheese are on a pizza, it's going to help you, the operator, work on your food costs. So I give the example here of simply an 18-inch pizza using a 10% plus or minus on just the mozzarella. And when you look at just the mozzarella, the cost of an ounce of mozzarella is approximately 12 cents. Okay, so bottom line, if you go ahead and use 13 ounces of mozzarella on something where you're only supposed to use 12, or if you over pour the cheese by 1 ounce 20 times a day, it's pretty amazing, how much the bottom line is on what you're saving per year on just that 1 ounce of mozzarella. Now, you can stress that to your employees about food cost and waste, but when you're talking about a number they have to equal to, it gives you another reason to keep the brand consistent. In menu labeling, once it does get here to Texas, you're going to see it's going to level the playing field. So if you're a pizza location and you have nutrition information and you have a convenience store that sells by the slice when somebody's getting 10 gallons of gas, because now we are a country where we buy a gallon of gas and a slice of pizza all at the same time and at the same place. This levels the playing field, so everybody has to give the same information. And that's just a list of all the different types of establishments that are going to have to provide nutrition information once it gets enacted. And it's interesting to me because the convenience store industry is who pushed back menu labeling. So we were ready to go on May 5th of 2017. We were all geared up, and at the end of April, I started to hear some scuttlebutt that it was going to get delayed. The lobbyists from the convenience store industry are the ones, and then there's a lobby group from 3 large chains of pizza that were in D.C., and that's who pushed menu labeling out. They're the ones who got to the White House and got their letter in front of the right people at the right time, and it pushed it out a day before it went into effect. You can imagine the brands that had menus standing off to the side ready to put up with the new numbers. They're on my phone going, do I put them up? Do I put them up? Do I put them up? So it came down to just the last 24 hours almost. Lobbying is a big industry still in D.C. And I will tell you that I met with the man that did that. It was a pretty interesting story about 2 weeks ago. So if you're interested, let me know. I'll be happy to share that with you. But when it comes to menu labeling, there we go. We are looking now at May of 2018. So May of 2018 is the next enforcement expectation date. I will tell you that these 4 areas of the country are already mandating menu labeling. So they're already putting their local rules in place and making people hold themselves accountable to it. Originally, they stepped it aside, waiting for federal mandates. Well, federal keeps pushing off, so now they're going ahead and if they're in King County, Washington, if they're in Montgomery County, Maryland, New York City, and the state of California, they're starting to mandate it already. So here's the challenge, and that is all those places show up on this map. Different laws, different regions, and each menu labeling law is not exactly like the others. So that's one of the big challenges. By the way, this is happening now for food allergy training. And I'll get into that in a second. We're seeing the exact same thing happen in food allergy training that we saw happen in menu labeling. And that will end up affecting Texas as well. Just a heads up on that. When we look at nutritional information, you got to be logical about it. In the earlier session I talked to 2 different people after, one of which is doing their own nutritional information for their restaurant. Use your logical brain on this. And I don't mean to belittle anybody or speak down, but sometimes I think we push it into a computer system, it pops up the numbers, and we just trust that they're right. And if you can use your logical side of your head and go, wait a second, something just doesn't feel right. That big old sandwich there can't possibly be 600 calories, 590 calories. That's kind of ridiculous. And in truth, it isn't. It's a whole lot more than that. It's 775 calories, which is a lot more realistic. When the numbers don't feel right or don't seem right, check it out. Because if you're going to put numbers and provide this information, it's going to matter, and it's really going to matter when it comes to allergies. So, okay, so our talk today is on these 3 topics, and they all run around this one idea of keeping the hospital out of hospitality. Our job is not to send our diners to the emergency room for dessert. You know, they actually would rather go home and digest your wonderful, loving food. They don't want to be in timeout looking for epinephrine and trying not to die. And as much as that may sound dramatic, it's also spot on for people with food allergies. Absolutely. Does anybody in the audience have a food allergy? Got 1, 2? Okay. It's very, very prevalent. I've been in the restaurant business since I was 15 years old in upstate New York, really close. Their company name is Syracuse for the sausage company. I grew up really close to Syracuse, New York, and I worked at the Ponderosa, and many of you are too young to remember a restaurant called the Ponderosa, but it was a steakhouse, and I would sling steaks, and never during that period of time did anybody ever say, I have an allergy to this, I can't eat that, I'm allergic to this, I'm intolerant to that. Well, all these years later, we literally 1 to 2 guests, at least 2 guests out of every party or group that walks into your place is going to have a special dietary request. I have met owners and chefs who said we just don't accommodate, we make no variation, and I actually know of a couple gals in California that are still sticking to that. But when you start doing that for the food allergic diner, you end up losing the whole party of 4 or the party of 6, because the diners eat where the fussiest person in the party can eat. So if you can't accommodate that fussy person, and I don't care if you think they're faking, I don't care if you want to roll your eyes, bottom line, you want to keep your restaurant open, you got to find a way to accommodate more and more. So here we go. I told you 2 in 10 diners ask for special dietary needs. These statistics are mind-blowing, truthfully. 15 million with food allergies, 3 million with celiac disease. That doesn't even count the people that fall into that last category, which is 7.5% of the U.S. population has a special request for an intolerance or a sensitivity. I don't like pepper. I'm not allergic to pepper. When I go out, I tell people, I need this, no pepper. No pepper at all. They'll say, are you allergic? I say, no, I'm not allergic, but that doesn't matter. No pepper at all. You give me pepper, I'm not going into anaphylaxis. I'm just not sleeping all night because that pepper gets in my stomach and I literally am up all night. And I can tell you when I've had pepper. And even when you put white pepper in, I find out. And I usually find out around 2 or 3 a.m. is when I find out. And then, now I'm not an angry customer because I'm in the business, but if I wasn't in the business, I'd be on Yelp. You can better believe I'd be yelping that from the bathroom at 2 a.m. And that's what your customers are doing when you cross contact. They're going, hey, open table this. You know, they're like, no, how's your experience from open table? Oh, let me tell you, I'm sitting in the can, and I've been here for 2 hours. You don't believe me? Google it. Google food allergic or food sensitivity, cross contact. It's amazing what pops up. I'm sorry for what you're going to read, but it's good education for you. 1 in 13 kiddos has a food allergy. Approximately, that makes 6 million children with food allergies. 1 in 13, do the math. In an elementary school class, there's 26 to 30 kids. Probably closer to 35 now, I'm old. We used to have 25 to a class. That means at least 2 people in every class, at least 2 kiddos in every classroom has a food allergy. No wonder you can't bring those cupcakes in. You can't. They could kill Johnny. We can't kill Johnny. We're trying to have a birthday party for Sue, you know? That's what it comes down to. I say that because, and look at this picture. Okay, who doesn't recognize at least one person on here, right? All these people have food allergies. All these people, a particle of protein from a peanut can kill them. This woman who can play tennis like nobody's business, rock star, amazing rock star tennis player, deathly allergic to peanuts. Insanely allergic. Drew Brees, is Drew up there? There he is, upright. I talk like I know him. Hey, Drew. Okay. Drew Brees, he can kill a football, but a peanut particle, or I think he's tree nut, can knock him down, take him out, and he needs epinephrine. If he doesn't have epinephrine, he's dead. Like there's no gray. There's nothing else. It's epinephrine if you're anaphylactic allergic. So Mr. Pittsburgh, oh, he's a New Orleans Saint football player. I'm a Redskins fan, so my Redskins can take him down. He can come back up as a Saints player and go for it, but a little stupid particle of a tree nut can knock him out. That's mind-blowing to me. Okay, let's bring this local. This was in the Houston Chronicle newspaper on July 10th of 2017. One man allergic to 84 different items. 84 food allergies for this one guy. Google it, look it up. It was yesterday's. Today the 11th. Today's the 10th. Oh, it's July 8th. So 2 days ago, it was in Saturday's paper. 84 items. If he walks into your restaurant, can you feed him? I mean, what do we offer? Tree bark and a piece of kale? You know, we got to do something. What's the option? I'm not being light about it. I'm sorry. I'm not making you laugh. But please understand, my heart's in the right place. And I want this man to be able to eat. He would terrify me walking into my restaurant. But I know that I could feed him. I could feed him. And any of you can too with the right tools and the right attitude and letting go of the fear. And that's what this is about. That's what he takes for part of his nutritional supplements on a daily basis to stay alive. I encourage you to look up the article about him. It's pretty amazing to hear his story on how he stayed alive with 84 food allergies. He only had 2 as a kid, and they've just blown up as he's become a young adult. He's 26 years old with kids and really cute pictures. He's growing his own food in the backyard. God love him. So, his kids aren't allergic at all. So this comes from a doctor who's heavy in the food allergy space. And this really lets you see how important it is to stress to your staff. This 1 milligram of a protein could be enough to take Drew Brees down. It could be enough to take, is it Venus Williams? I know it's one of the Williams. Huh? Serena Williams, thank you. It could take her down, just that big of, that tiny little particle. Okay, so let me talk for a second on this. We have 21 different countries that identify big allergens. They identify a total of 23 different allergens. Here in the U.S., we only deal with 8. We can't deal with all 21, but I know Texas is a destination spot for folks. They're coming here from all over the world. So it's always helpful to know that there are other allergens besides the big 8 that people can be allergic to. We worry about the big 8. You've got a picture of that on your handout there of what the big 8 are, but there are other allergens. So keep that in mind. Here's the big 8 that we have here in the U.S. And out of those big 8 allergens, 90% of food allergic reactions happens with one of those big 8 items. Now let me tell you something. With adults, the #1 allergy is seafood, shellfish. With kids, it's peanuts. Dairy is a really close second with kids, but peanuts are the #1 allergy with kids. And 40% of kids with a peanut allergy, or with a food allergy, it can become anaphylactic and serious. They call it a severe allergy. That means they need medical help if they ingest the particle protein. Let's go through gluten-free defined, and I apologize. I knew there was one repeat slide, last talk versus this talk, so for those that are repeating, my bad. I hate to have the same slide in two, but this is a good one, and that is that this gluten-free defined. So we tried as an industry to define what is gluten-free, and finally the FDA, USDA did come out and define what is gluten-free. And what is gluten-free in the US is anything that is 20 ppm or less can be called gluten-free. ppm stands for parts per million. So if it's an item that has just trace amounts of gluten, it might still be able to be called gluten-free if it's 20 ppm or less. And so that you can get your head wrapped around 20 ppm, like who knew this? I didn't. I'm like, really? That's totally helpful, speaking French to me. 20 ppm stands for, the parts per million is like taking a gallon jug of water and 1 drop of food coloring. You put 1 drop of food coloring in that gallon jug of water, you'll see it as it drops, and then it dissipates, and then it's gone. Now, you and I know it's in there, but we can't see it. But that mathematically is 20 ppm, 1 gallon of water, 1 drop of food coloring. So anything more than that or more is considered not gluten-free. And then I did just add this slide. I talked about this earlier. These are the new devices that are out there for those that are eating gluten-free. They only cost $159. They're not crazy expensive. What's expensive is the cartridges to test, by the way. But this detects whether or not something is 20 ppm or less. So therefore, whether or not something is gluten-free. This device is called the NIMA, N-I-M-A, and it's out of Massachusetts. Got some great financial funding and backing, and kind of interesting. I will tell you, right now, it's been giving some false positives, which makes it a challenge. Somebody comes to your restaurant, they order from your gluten-free menu, they pull this device out. You want to talk about feeling like somebody's policing you. Like, holy cow. But with these folks, you feed somebody gluten that's been eating gluten-free for a year, and they get glutened in your restaurant, they're in their bathroom for 3 days. And if they had to do any work, they're doing it from the toilet, literally. And again, Google it, look it up. It's pretty amazing what happens when somebody gets gluten when they truly have celiac disease. I go into this much deeper on that education side in our training, but I'll just leave it there for now. Always have recipes. I don't care if you have 1 or 2 locations or 22 locations. You should have recipes for every single item that you make in your restaurant. That way, there's 2 levels of communication between you and your staff so that you know if something's an allergen on the recipe card, and they know if they walk in to do an evening shift, what was made during the day, they can refer to a recipe card and see what's there. Because not everybody's allergic to one of those big 8. Sometimes they're allergic to something other than one of the big 8 allergens. So have at least 1, if not 2 ways to communicate. Recipe cards are the best. Does anybody in the audience have allergen charts currently in your location that you're using? So allergen charts are the way to identify which big 8 allergens and gluten are in your food items at all times. And it's a wonderful way to use those recipe cards to be able to communicate with the diner. Again, we see this on some of the bigger chains, but I'm seeing some of the smaller locations or onesie-twosies to go ahead and make these up as well, or have a notebook. There's a chef out there named, a celebrity chef, Ming Tsai. I don't know if any of you know who Ming Tsai is. He has 2 kids that have life-threatening food allergies, and he has a notebook. He's 3-ring notebook in page protectors for all of his recipes that alerts what big 8 allergens are present at all times. Really simple stuff, but if you're going to do it, have a program and a procedure to keep up with it. Don't just do it once and be done. You're not done just once. You have to keep it going. Okay, here we're going to talk for 1 second about FALSPA. FALSPA is a federal program, a federal mandate that came down back in 2006, and this has to do with identifying allergens on labels. Now, FALSPA gives you 3 ways to see if it's any of the big 8 allergens on your label, and you can see those 3 methods down the right side. You should be able to look at any product you're purchasing for your location, flip it around, and identify the allergens. or at least hopefully one of the names you recognize. There's a kitty cat, because every time I talk about federal mandates, I need a kitty cat. I need a happy moment, because DC makes me so crazy. We do these Aller cards. You have my email address. If you want an Aller card, just send me an email and say, I sat through your presentation, and for that I want an Aller card, honey, and I'll send some to you. They are $2 on our website. I'll be glad to send you one just for keeping me company here in Texas today. These list the big 8 allergens and their alternate names. This is really important because sometimes the manufacturer doesn't put the word dairy, they put the word casein. And that can get confusing, especially if English is not a first language. That's another challenge. We have these in Spanish as well. We're working on translating them to Mandarin. Asian is the 3rd language that everybody asks for. So, tree nuts. Look at all those different names for tree nuts. Think about if it grows up high versus peanuts grows down in the ground. People are always like, what's the difference? It's a huge difference where they're grown. All right, so we're going to go into top 10 tools. Does anybody have any questions for me before I keep going? Yes, ma'am. We want to have the coconut debate? Okay, coconut's a pain. Let me tell you why it's a pain. But you'll be glad to know. I fought with the USDA on this in February. Coconut is listed as a tree nut, and it's listed as a tree nut because when Congress passed the act that identified the big 8, coconut was in that list from the old FAN, Food Allergy Network in DC. The problem is coconut is not a tree nut. You would think it's a fruit. But because it was on that list and it came through in what Congress voted on, it's still listed. When we did the certification at Cornell, Cornell has an entire dining hall that's free from gluten, tree nut, and peanut, except coconut. And so we have to like put an asterisk. It's like, what's that guy's baseball player, 61. It's the asterisk when the 61. We have the asterisk in the food allergy. So yes, coconut, although people are allergic to coconut, but generally that doesn't mean they're also allergic to tree nuts, unless they're that poor guy with 84 allergies. And then I don't know. I mean, he's in great physical shape, God love him, but it's a very valid question. I went to USDA, they did a day on food allergies in DC in February, and I said, can we get coconut off? And it turns out the only way we can get coconut off the list is to have it go through Congress. And right now I think I'd rather give birth to twins as I stand here than have to go through Congress. So we're just gonna leave it there and let them mess with what they already, their cup already runneth over. I'm gonna wait 3.5 more years. Okay, that's my game plan. All right, food allergy tips. By the way, you guys see this thing? I don't know if you can see, it's the coolest thing. It's one of those Craftsman toolboxes, but this restaurant uses it for their condiments. It is the smartest invention. It only takes up that much. I was like, I've got to show that to people. I think that's brilliant. The drawers work, it's got all the straws. Okay, sorry. We'll go into communication on food allergies. Dealing with food allergies, and this, by the way, is on the chart on your back of your worksheet. So the first item, these are the top 10 tools. My goal today with you, besides to give you a comfortable place to sit and possibly fall asleep, is to give you enough tools that you could walk back into your restaurant tomorrow and just make a couple simple changes and make people safer already. You don't need to buy anything. You've already punched your ticket by being here today. I just want you to get a couple of tools. The first tool is that you have to have a way to communicate between food allergic diner and chef and whoever's running the food. Again, keep the hospital out of hospitality. So what is the communication? Who holds the information on allergens? Do you have a chart? Do you have a recipe book? Is it only the owner? Is it only the chef? But establish and make sure everyone knows basically whose throat to choke if you're going to have a food allergic diner. Oh my gosh, that was a pun, because they get all swollen and they can't close. Oh, my bad. That was do-do-do on that one, right? It's a shame. I got to come out of my shell a little more, I know. So, number 2, have a policy. I don't care if you write your policy on a bev nap to start. but have a policy. Your policy needs to be a plan and a process. And the plan is what to do when somebody shows up and says, I have a food allergy. And the process is whose job it is to take care of that diner. I will tell you that food allergic diners and people with special dietary needs become the most, they turn into regulars like you've never seen. Like once they know they can trust you, you are there, they are at your place for everything. If you're fast casual, after every single softball game and every single swim meet. If you're a nicer, finer tablecloth location, you get every birthday and graduation. And that is the loyalty like you can't even imagine. So have a policy in place to be more successful. Right tools and space. People always say, Betsy, how in God's name? They go, JMJ, all my Catholic upbringing, you know. How in the world am I supposed to have an area in my kitchen to prepare food for food allergic diners? I have a kitchen the size of right here. I'm like, okay, that's fine. You have a sheet pan. Buy one in purple. Now you have a food allergic space. You're already buying sheet pans. Just buy one in purple. That one is only used when you have a food allergic diner. It doesn't cost much more. I'm sure they get an extra $10 on it probably because it's purple. But you're going to buy them. Now you have an area that's a workspace with a 1-inch lip all the way around. No food allergen's going to jump off the table and onto that area. Boom, now I've got space. I don't care how slammed I am. Now if you have a wheat allergy and you're throwing pizza dough in the air and you come in with a wheat allergy, you're bad. You know, like really, come on, okay? But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the average guest who comes in has a food allergy and you as the owner want to serve them. This toolkit, $79. Not the best chef knife. Not top shelf. This is not a Henkel knife, I'm telling you. But what I am telling you, it's the Primo knife. It's the best knife God ever created if you have a food allergy. Because you know you can trust that knife. So you grab that sheet pan, you grab that kit, and off you go. You make their meal right there. You protect it. You use foil. Foil is my best friend. For food allergic diners, foil doesn't get any better. I can cook in foil. I can wrap in foil. I can protect in foil. I can use it as a barrier. I can use it as a barrier in an oven. I can put it in a salamander on top of it. I can do amazing stuff with foil. I probably can make a gravy boat out of it, but I'm not that creative. Foil is rock star. So, right space and tools. I don't care how small it is. You can make it happen. Okay. This is funny because I'm in Texas. Not because of Texas. I like Texas. I went to a Rangers game last night. I was telling the other group. 128 degrees, I swear to all things holy. I sat there and just died, but I got through it. It was a great game. I enjoy it very much. I love baseball. So, in Texas, at this show, a bunch of years ago, I came here and taught Allertrain, which was my first allergy training class. And in that class, I remember asking the people, and we had about 14 people in the room, and I said, who believes you can cook out allergens? And half the room raised their hand. 7 out of 14 people. 7 out of 14. This is 6 years ago. So, you cannot cook out food allergens. Let me give you an example. No matter how much I cook a piece of chicken on a flat top, I can cook that sucker for 4 hours, and at the end of 4 hours, I still have the protein chicken. And if I'm allergic to the protein chicken, I'm going down and looking for my EpiPen. You know, it never, never, never cooks out. But people think if it's hot enough in the oil, it'll cook out. If I cook it in there for long enough, it'll cook out. People with shellfish allergies want to eat French fries. I get that. Unless your restaurant sets up the first bay, always has fresh oil and always does the fries, and you have shrimp in your house, and you cannot cross-cook shrimp and fries in the same area. You can't. There's a really popular burger restaurant around the country that can serve allergen-friendly and gluten-free fries, and they do it because the very first bay always has fresh oil every day because they move the oils down, and that's the way they can keep it that safe. We do have other people that do countertop fryers too. That works. Proper cleaning methods. Always clean and sanitize. Just sanitizing is not enough with allergens. You got to remove the protein before you clean the surface. So just like we do with our hands, we We get them wet, then we use a cleaning agent, and then we rinse with the water as a sanitizer in the end when we're washing our hands. Same sort of thing with surfaces. We use a cleaning agent, then we do a rinse. Deliver with confidence. Any restaurateur can do this tonight. You don't need to go buy new plates. Aren't those great old school plates? That looks like a diner from when I was growing up. You don't have to go buy those. You can do double plate. If you're going to go through the effort behind the line to make a food allergic meal, double plate it. All you do is end up washing one extra plate. You already have it. And then everybody that goes and serves it goes, wow, that must be a food allergic one. Oh, this special meal. There's 2 baskets, or there's 2 plates, or there's 2 bowls. All you did was double it. Another option, use a frill pick. How much does one frill pick cost? A fraction of a penny? If you're table service, I would have you right away tell people, okay, I've got your meal, and I know that you're allergic to shellfish, so when your meal comes out, it's going to actually have a frill pick in it, and that way everybody will know it's been prepared specially for you. If your meal comes from the runner and doesn't have a frill pick, don't touch it. I'll be right back to you. Now I've empowered the guests to be their own advocate as well, and I spent less than a penny to make a huge impression. Huge, huge, huge. Have a recall plan. So, this is amazing. More than half of the food recalls in our country today are because of food allergens, undeclared allergens. Do you have a way to find out what's on the 86 list for an allergen? Let me give you an example. Cumin, which is the spice most of us use in tacos, has peanuts in it, had peanuts protein in it. And it happened in Thailand, where the core product to make cumin came from before it went to India and was made into this spice. A year and a half ago, I'm getting ready to give a talk at Microsoft about food allergies, and I got 4 alerts before I stood up to talk about cumin. So I started it with, if you have cumin in your house, back in your kitchen, you need to right now stop listening to me and get on there and let your people know cumin and peanut, because peanut's #1 for kids. Kids go down 40% of the time. It's lethal. You're going to hit CNN if it happens in your place, so you want to make sure to know it. And then boom. So what's the recall? There's a couple of links on your worksheet for places you can go get recall notices, so go for that. Always check labels. And I apologize that this is so much lecturing. I love more interactive. I can't do much in this space. I've kind of had to tamper down my questions. I apologize for that. But so if you have questions, please holler them out. Does anybody know what allergen could be in soy sauce? Wheat, right? How about barbecue sauce? Could be wheat. Could be wheat, absolutely. Could be any of them. But most commercially graded barbecue sauces have tree nuts in them, ironically enough. And chicken of the sea, tuna, not chicken. I forget which superstar thought it was chicken. Does anybody know the allergen in there? Shellfish, yeah, or fish, but the one that gets you is milk, believe it or not. In chicken of the sea tuna, it says whey, W-H-E-Y on the label, and whey stands for milk, dairy. So always know what you're looking for in the labels. Again, hit me up for the a la carte. You are my friends. I will send you one. Not a problem. I wish I had some with me now. I'd hand them out, but I'll drop some in the mail to you if you hit me up on email. Proper storage. Always have a different area where you store the allergen foods and store them higher than the non-allergen foods. I can't tell you how many times I've walked in the back of the house of somebody's restaurant and seen just the opposite. We know it with chicken, right? Where do we put chicken? In the walk-in. Which part? Which shelf? Bottom, 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 right? We do just use that same mentality for food allergies. You know, food allergies go up on the top shelf, food allergy-friendly items go on the top shelf. Items where it doesn't matter whether it's got cross-contact, things like that, bottom shelf. Okay, so I use the term cross-contact versus cross-contamination. It's a little confusing, but we decided as an industry when we all got together in 2012 and 2013 to go ahead and identify one versus the other. Cross-contact is when I introduce an allergen to a non-allergen containing item after the fact. Contamination is something that I can do and cook out. So that's really the two big differences between cross-contamination and cross-contact. If I can cook it out, I cannot make you sick from it, and it generally happens en route to you or in the manufacturing process, versus cross-contact happens on a table we're working on together. And then finally, number 10 is emergency protocol. What do you do if someone has a food allergic reaction? I always put this into any time I talk on food allergies, just in case, God forbid, you know. How many years have we been looking at the Heimlich maneuver poster? Like, I know to go choke somebody to death if they're choking to death, right? Don't you? Just shove them over a chair, or, you know, I'll get it. I will find the strength if it's trying to save your life, I promise you. But we don't have that knee-jerk reaction knowing what to do if somebody's having a food allergic reaction. So I really trying to get this message out. Number one, if somebody's having an allergic reaction, see if they have medication with them and help them administer it. Encourage them to administer it. We do not train to have us be the administrators of their medication. Most people don't eat alone, and most food allergic reaction, the people are generally still with it enough where they can give themselves an EpiPen shot in their leg. I do have a trainer up here if anybody wants to see it after the talk, but putting epinephrine in your thigh is pretty simple. That needle will go through leather, that needle will go through jean material, but see if they have their epinephrine. And number two is dial 911. Don't wait to don't dial 911 first and not talk to them about medication. Seconds matter with an anaphylactic response. I do on our website on allertrain.com, we do have the video on how to administer epinephrine, but again, because of the space we're in, I can't do it here. But you can Google it. It's on YouTube. It's on allertrain.com. Go watch it. It doesn't take long to watch. CYA, cover your allergens. I know you thought it was something else. I meant allergen. Yep. This is really interesting and should put fear of God in everybody's heart that owns a restaurant. When are you on notice? You are on notice the moment somebody says to you, I have a food allergy. Now, they don't have to say it to you. They can say it to the guy that parked the car. They can say it to the hostess. They can say it to the busboy. The moment they tell anybody who gets a paycheck from your establishment that they have a food allergy, your entire establishment legally is on notice. Knowing that, you need to have a policy about if somebody tells you who gets alerted, so that you've got it covered within your place. You don't want to learn that lesson the wrong way. Know your code. In Texas, we're basically 2001 food code with a whole bunch of adoptions. It's kind of interesting to see what Texas has done. However, Texas did take up the 2013 pieces of the 2013 food code, and we see a whole lot of food code language in both 2009 and 2013 that have to do with allergens, properly train for food allergies. So more and more is coming to Texas this way. This is where Texas is going to fall in line with the training of food allergies, the way menu labeling. You guys are going to see menu labeling because of federal. Within 10 years, you'll see food allergy training mandated because of federal. Right now, it costs $19 to do an Allertrain Light class. It costs almost nothing. It's stupid not to do it because it could be life-changing. Or go to the NRA site and do theirs for $22. Or, I mean, there's not tons of training, but something simple. It's worth it. The 2013 code talks about a person in charge understanding about separate containers, like the pan I was talking about, or using the sheet tape pan, or using the kit. The 2013 code's talking about needing that and understanding about the separate containers and understanding about the cross-contact in allergens. It's the first time we've seen it in our food code. It took till 2013. Here's state-mandated training. So I've been talking about training. Different parts of the country have mandated training for food allergens. The new one up there, you're the first audience that's going to see this, Illinois is passing it statewide. We're waiting for the governor to sign it. It's gone through the Senate. It's gone through the House in the state of Illinois. It will be ANSI accredited training. Right now, I'm the only company that has that. The NRA is going through certification. I'm helping them with that. And that's it. You're going to be mandated by January 1st of 2018. One person at all times in their location must be trained in food allergies. So if you were down here and you want to get in front of this, jump on the bandwagon. There's, like I said, there's not much out there that does it, but it's not tons of training. Online training's less than half an hour, and it's $19. It's not ridiculous. Training, training, more training. This is just the posters on your sheet. Under cover and protect at the bottom, know your code, food allergy training poster, and keep your training current. Those bottom 3 links I encourage you to look at. That second link, you click to that and you can print your own food allergy poster, like the one there on the left or the one here on the right. I did those posters with FAIR. You're welcome to download the PDF and print them off yourself. If you don't want to, go to my website, give me $5, I'll ship you one. But you can print it yourself. Food allergy training fun. Okay, so I love Pittsburgh. I don't like the Steelers, but I love the town and I love the attitude of Pittsburgh. What I can tell you is this attitude of food allergy training, this is a brand called Eaton Park. They trained 300 of their staff in food allergies. They gave them all capes with smiley faces on it and called them food allergy heroes. You can bet people that have food allergies in their families go to their restaurants in Pittsburgh when they've got food allergy heroes everywhere. These 2 guys have made it fun for their entire staff to learn about food allergies through training and throwing things at them and giving them t-shirts and smiley faces. I mean, it's all about an attitude. This signage here, this is mandated. Bottom left is what's mandated in Massachusetts. You want good CYA signage? Put this up by your register. Please inform the server if someone in your party has a food allergy. If you have that up and they haven't informed you, it's now on them. It's now on them legally. Even if they gave you no, I mean, it's like, I know it's games and it's legal games and I'm not a lawyer. I just get called in a bunch and I won't go testify. I'm not a subject matter expert for the courts. But I hear about all the cases. There's a massive case getting ready to go to real big trial in Massachusetts against Panera Bread. They almost killed a 6-year-old. She's fine, but she ordered a grilled cheese sandwich and wrote on there no peanuts, peanut allergy, all of that. The person that made the sandwich thought she wanted extra peanut butter. So on the grilled cheese sandwich, they put 1 teaspoon helping of glob of peanut butter right in between the slices of bread and the cheese. Kid almost died. So, and it was the second incident in 3 months in that Panera Bread with no training or anything in between. So I see it all the time. So definitely have that signage up there for CYA. You could do some training posters. We do those. I talked about Aller cards. And then finally, and good, I'm ending with just a few minutes for questions and answers if anyone has some. As I said earlier, if anybody wants to be kept up on what's happening, we do a newsletter. It happens every Tuesday. We like to keep everybody informed as best we can. Happy to have you be part of our family on that. We have about 10,000 people that read it. Well, 10,000 subscribers, 2,000 to 3,000 read it every week.